Darren McCarthy was one of the toughest enforcers of his era, but his connection with one of his what he called friendly opponents in the NHL drew massive attention in the mid-2010s because both of them spoke out about how marijuana or marijuana products basically lessened their effects from concussion, CTE syndrome over the years. Now, he and his good friend Larry DePalma joined together for an article on allbud.com in 2016 that talked about how cannabis saved Larry DePalma's life. Now, we'll be quoting from this article. Now, Larry DePalma might be a forgotten enforcer in the history of the NHL, especially into the late 80s, early 90s. But it's not too often a player from Trenton, Michigan eventually plays with one of the most popular NHL teams of all time, and he's probably one of the only players in WHL history to become undrafted despite scoring nearly 70 goals in a season. Now, Larry was born in Trenton, Michigan. He played with the Stars, the Sharks, and Pittsburgh Penguins of the NHL. Now, as a youth, he first came to major prominence at the infamous Quebec International Pee Wee Hockey Tournament in 1978, where he skated with a team from Detroit. Now, his minor hockey career eventually led him to be playing in the WHL. Now, a late bloomer, in his first major season in the WHL with New Westminster Bruins in 1985, he had 30 points in 65 games. Now, as almost an overage player in 86 with Saskatoon, he had 112 points, including 61 goals in 65 games, 232 minutes and penalties. Now, he did skate his first game with Minnesota that year as a call-up, but was sent to Springfield for seasoning in 87 and then had a regular role with Minnesota in 87. That year in his rookie campaign, 9 goals, 6 assists for 15 points, 219 minutes and penalties. Now, ironically, he found himself in the minors in the IHL and AHL in 88 with the Kalamazoo Wings and the Baltimore Skipjacks, and literally fought his way back to the Stars after only playing 7 games with them in 88. 89, he played a full season with Minnesota, 5 goals, 7 assists for 12 points. Now, the left winger had some talent. He could score a goal every once in a while, but what the problem he had is that technically the fourth line in Minnesota, which he was mired on, sometimes the third line, his line mates wasn't producing. Now, he eventually became a hometown hero with the Kalamazoo Wings over 2 seasons. Now, he did get a last call-up with Minnesota in 91. We had 3 goals in 14 games. But 1990, he played 36 games with the Kalamazoo with 218 minutes and penalties in 36 games. And 91 was a big season, 59 points in 55 games, 27 goals, and 160 minutes and penalties. Now, he always was a sensation in the IHL and was there for a number of years. First came to major prominence for a lot of people, playing with the Kansas City Blades. Kalamazoo wasn't as popular as Kansas City, but his first season with KCB, he had 57 points in 62 games, 188 minutes and penalties. 93, he got back to the NHL with San Jose, 2 goals and 6 assists for 8 points, but was played the majority of the season in Kansas City. 94 with the Golden Knights, the Atlanta Knights, the Salt Lake Golden Eagles, the Las Vegas Thunder, and the Cleveland Lumberjacks. He played with 4 IHL teams with 18 goals that year with almost 300 minutes and penalties. Now, he saw his last NHL action in 94 with 1 goal in 7 games, and also was part of Pittsburgh's playoff run. 95, he played with Cleveland and San Diego of the IHL with 20 goals and 200 minutes and penalties. Minnesota Moose, again, another IHL squad, 26 goals and 26 points, 55 games, 9 goals. And with the Milwaukee Admirals to wrap up his IHL career, 26 points in 68 games. So, as it stands right now, he played the IHL with Kalamazoo, Kansas City, Atlanta, Salt Lake, Las Vegas, Cleveland, San Diego, Minnesota, Milwaukee. So he was everywhere. Now, he was a man with great talent, not drafted, of course. He was a WHL East second All-Star team. But I don't really consider him a heavy enforcer. He could score, but it's interesting with the article. I'm gonna quote a little bit from it, and I want you to take it in. And allbud.com is an interesting. They have a very interesting blog through the years, which I read when I referred to people that have benefited from marijuana use for different things. Now, according to the article, it breaks down how DePalma thinks that marijuana saved his life. Now, there's a photo on the blog with Darren McCarthy, which, again, it says they are two former hockey players who now advocate for marijuana use. Now, while music thumps and people laugh in the background, tough guy Larry DePalma talks about how he tried to kill himself several times since leaving the NHL in a new video called Cannabis and Concussion. In a YouTube video, DePalma, again, who played the NHL for numerous teams, and the IHL squads and AHL squads, of course, lays out the facts of his traumatic brain injuries and how the medical use of marijuana stopped him from thoughts of suicide and halted his addictions to alcohol and pain pills. He joins fellow Detroit Red Wing Darren McCarthy in supporting the current medical marijuana system while also advocating for the legalization measures offered by the MI Legalized organization in Michigan. DePalma's interview was taped during one of MI Legalized fundraisers in Detroit. Both them had reputations as enforcers on the ice, and both men still looked like they could put Claude Lemieux face down in the face-off circle with a single punch. McCarthy was famed in Detroit as a member of the Grind Line, and DePalma is often featured on hockeyfights.com with a very amazing 12 notable fights in a single year while he skated for the Stars. In the video, DePalma explains how he suffered 8 major concussions and numerous minor ones during his 11-year hockey career, and has since been diagnosed with traumatic brain injury and CTE, another head injury. In a 2012 video for a treatment program, DePalma explained the severity of these injuries. I probably had maybe 5 major concussions to where I didn't know where I was for a day or two. You would miss maybe 3 days of hockey play. DePalma was diagnosed with TBI and CTE in 2010, and he described his condition at that time. It was bad. I couldn't talk. My speech was slurred. People thought I was drunk or high or something. He said in that advertisement. It got so bad to where I couldn't even walk. My equilibrium was off. I couldn't stand on one leg for more than 3 seconds. I couldn't look up because I would fall right backwards. That 2012 video for a brain injury treatment program features a clip of a fight between DePalma and McCarthy, who have become good friends. Now, both he and McCarthy have described the difficulties of life after hockey, the pain pills and depression, alcohol abuse, destructive behavior, and worse. In a new video, DePalma discusses how cannabis has offered solutions traditional medicine could not give. These concussions ruin people's lives, he said. I had a gun in my mouth 3 times, and finally cannabis came out and saved my life. Now, both men credit marijuana for being a bridge away from addiction as a healing tool for injury. DePalma claims medical marijuana alleviated his brain injuries, the continuous pain, symptoms of gout, rage, depression, and other physical ailments, and McCarthy also makes no secret of his alcohol addiction and the effect marijuana has had him in beating booze. Now, because DePalma and McCarthy are both Michigan residents, he had a good connection over the years. Now, I don't condone or poo-poo on marijuana. Everybody's different. I don't need drugs to live, but I suffer from post-concussion syndrome because I was beaten up severely as a child in a schoolyard beating in grade 8, which caused white matter in my brain to form, and I've had my brain studied on different occasions by neurologists, and what you talk about is true. But marijuana, maybe the pain receptors are. You don't cry out for pain pills anymore or alcohol. The marijuana is like a softened version, and it works slowly. But all I know, ladies and gentlemen, the 1980s in the NHL was just in the 1970s. There was a lot of enforcers that took each other on to keep jobs. I think Tony Twist, Chrissy Nyland, people like that. The situation with Mick Sorley and Brashear and people like that. You had Domi was around for a while, so that was even prevalent in the 90s. That's not really talked about much, how these former enforcers have basically become addicted either to the lack of fame they don't go through anymore, or the fact is the pills and the booze and the women sometimes, because there's players out there with multiple wives and multiple children. as live fast, die hard, life in the fast lane, say like the Eagles. So this suggestion for DePalma, again, our good friend of the channel, Andrew Lippert. Andrew, thanks so much. Andrew always makes great suggestions. And people wonder why I enjoy doing these podcasts on Minnesota North Star alumni. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that 71 playoff series against Montreal, Minnesota drew a lot of fans across the country, not only because Parise and Goldsworthy, Gub Worsley, of course, Maniego, Fern Rivard, the Hextalls, everybody else. Minnesota has always been a favorite of Canadian because Minnesota is a hard-working sports region. All the teams there work to death. And the fact with Minnesota wouldn't be the hockey program, no Orr Brooks and no beating the Russians in 1980. So I have a great fascination amongst the media and fans in Canada of the North Star alumni. And each one of them, not to say they made my career as a journalist, but I've covered many of them. And let me tell you something. I sold more papers on an American team and a Minnesota North Stars than any other squad, especially when they moved to Dallas. I know that sounds weird. But I remember when they played the Islanders in 81 and Ciccarelli and the different players, Bobby Smith. Beating Montreal in 1980 was another factor too. You come to respect your opponent. And when Bobby came to Montreal and won a cup, them drafting Bobby made him the leader that we needed in 86. So again, every Minnesota North Star has a piece of that 1986 cup. I know it sounds deep, but that's the way it goes. So ladies and gentlemen, be safe out there. Big flash freeze in New Brunswick tonight. It was 50 degrees Fahrenheit and went to -5 within a couple of hours. Typical February weather in New Brunswick. So if you like what we're doing here with our vintage podcast, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget, as we say in the North Shore, keep your stick on the ice. Have a good day. Bye.